Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello guys, my name is Maximilian Mormont. I've been a strength conditioning coach since 2001. I've helped out at UCI, Cal State Fullerton. I've also been a competitive Olympic weightlifter. And I've helped design multiple certifications. I've also helped I've helped gyms develop systems for their members, you know. And every member is different. Every group of community of CrossFit is different, so their goals are a little different. However, there's one thing that's very consistent in the whole career or the whole industry of fitness, which is warming up, right? So if you guys look at sports, and if you guys look at any type of athletics, they always have warming up, right? And so one of the biggest things that we have here and we pride ourselves on is our warm-up, and now we've started adding in a cool-down. We're even making a cool-down section. So I don't know a lot of gyms that kind of enforce that. There's a lot of gyms that kind of just have you come in, like, get ready to go, or they give you kind of a generic warm-up. But our warm-up is always specific to what we're going to do. It teaches us patterns. And so today I'm going to actually teach you guys, and that's what I really like about our onboarding, is that we teach our onboarders really kind of our system of how we warm up. And there's kind of a reason why. And I always think back to kind of when I was playing sports, and I think of my coach that said priming the pump. I'm always getting ready to go. The other thing too is, have you guys ever, like, I think back to getting ready for a game, a big game, or even just a regular game, and I'm warming up, the coach is running me through it, and I just remember grabbing my knees and like, how the hell am I going to make it through this game, right? And then all of a sudden the game starts going, I do phenomenal, no injuries, everything goes well. And the days that I kind of feel good in the warm-up, or like I half-ass my warm-up, always something happens. For some reason, the 2 times I rolled my ankle really bad, I wasn't focused in my warm-up. And we use this thing called FU, which is called focus up. So that's kind of what we talk about here. It's not a bad thing. We just really want that kind of warm-up to have purpose. So when we look at a warm-up, it has basically 4 steps, and then there's kind of the rest of the workout, and I'm going to kind of show you guys how that goes. So when you guys get here, I highly recommend that you always do some self-myofascial release, right? So rolling out with the ball, flossing, and I'll show you all that type of stuff. Really, the self-myofascial release is kind of a form of stretching. It breaks down scar tissue. It allows for a little more range of motion prior to the activity that you're going to do. And also, too, it'll help with recovery. So we also throw it in our cool down as well. So we like having it in both places, really to kind of flush that out as well. But mostly in the beginning, we want to get that scar tissue out, get it ready to go. Then we move into a monostructural movement. And monostructural movement is just really kind of a cool kid way of saying cardio or conditioning. I think of monostructural is globo gym, elliptical, globo gym, treadmill, you know, something that is an exercise that I can do continuously over a long longevity of time. So an awful way of thinking about it is a burpee. So a burpee, right? I can technically do that for an hour, right? It would suck, but that would be a monostructural movement. So it's something that I can get warm without having a lot of intensity. So a little jog, a little bike, and I always want that prior to an active or dynamic warm-up. Okay? So we roll out, we do some type of little cardio, and then we have an active or dynamic warm-up. Active is something where, imagine that I'm moving my hips or my joints through a range of motion, but I am not physically moving through multiple ranges of motion. So dynamic would be the same idea, but now I'm actually moving. So we do both. We do active and dynamic. Sometimes we'll do one or the other. We'll mix and match. You're allowed to pretty much do whatever you can there. And then that's where we start moving that body into the ranges of motion. So today we're running. So we're doing a lot of running techniques. So we're skipping, we're jumping, we're doing a lot of those type of things, but we're not getting overly aggressive with it. But first we warm up the hamstring, we warm up the quad, and then we move into it. At that point is when I move into distraction, lengthening, and mobility. Okay, now when we talk about distraction, lengthening, and mobility, something that's very easy is like a hamstring stretch, right? So a lot of my athletes at this point is when we add that in. So if you have a pre-existing like hamstring injury, pulled groin, or anything that's kind of bugging you, I always want that here. And if you look at it, you've already gone through 3 steps. then now you're going to start distracting the joint, or you're going to start lengthening the muscle. And a lot of people, when you read books, I always give people a hard time when they read like Supple Leopard. There's really nothing in there that talks about doing a warm-up prior to distracting. You know, and I feel like Kelly Starrett, when he writes the book, he writes it in the sense that people are smarter than that. They're not going to just come in and start yanking on their joints. They're not going to just overstretch their hamstring. However, that's not the case. People do that. If you go into the gym, right, you see somebody warming up. My favorite warm-up for the bench press, like Lobo Gym, start stretching the pec, right? But there's no warm-up to that. You know, they could have done some bear crawls. They could have done something where they warmed up the joint prior to really pushing on it. And that's something that we're going to teach you. We're going to show you guys how to do that. And then in the warm-up, we get to a general warm-up. So this is just monostructural. This is just basic, generic warm-up. But in the sense of when we talk about general warming up, now we're talking about more specifics to the workout, but not exactly what we're going to do. So we might do some balance and coordination stuff. We might do core work, functional movements, activation work. I think of this type of stuff as almost like prehab or rehab. Right? So a lot of the stuff that we're going to do in there would be something you would get from a PT or a physical therapist telling you, hey, for your knee, we want you to do some single leg balance. We want you to do some single leg RDLs. For your shoulders, we want you to do some scapular contractions, things of that nature. So then we're also not only getting you ready to move properly in the workout, but over longevity as well. So we're not allowing you guys to have a lot of bad patterns. And then this is where we add in kind of our idea of activation. So a lot of us have bad posture, right? We're all forward animals. So everything we do is going forward, we drive forward. And if you don't believe me, you should try to eat with your chin back. So when you try to eat, you always fire your head forward. And I try to eat like this, but my wife Jillian does not like it. The stuff ends up all over me, right? So I really want to work on my chin sitting back. So when we think of it, I could correct my bad posture by walking backwards, right? But that would just be awkward. I don't really know how well that would go in the office. So that's kind of when we add that in. So balance, coordination, core work, functional movement, things that we would do outside of here. So again, like every day we tie our shoes. So that's things that are getting us ready for it. And then specific warm-up, step 3, and this is kind of where we're really now going to hit it right on the head. The nail on the head is the integrative and reactive. So at this point in your guys' warm-up, this is where you'll start seeing specifically what you're going to do in the workout. So today they're doing kettlebell swings and they're doing muscle-ups. So at that point is when they're going to start seeing actual kettlebell swings, and they're going to actually start working on pull-ups, and then working on their actual movement of the muscle-up, because now that's what's going to take them over into the next portion. So that's a very basic way of looking at our system of warming up. At any time, guys, if you guys feel lost in that, don't worry. I always say you can always look around. There's about 20 other kids doing it. Don't look at the one kid not doing it, what the other 19 are doing. But always ask. Always ask. Don't be shy to ask me. Afterwards, be like, hey, you were yelling and telling us to do all this type of stuff, and I didn't really follow the direction. And I'm very systematic, so you can kind of assume that if I give you guys a new warm-up, fortunately or unfortunately, you're going to see the same thing for about 2 or 3 weeks. And that's because you'll learn it, right? Everybody's so scared of adaptation, but if I kept throwing random stuff at you guys, you're going to create maladaptation, which is not a good thing. Your learning system, the ability to your knowledge, your ability to learn the movement isn't going to be done correctly. So it's more important that we almost get you to adapt and then we change it. Now the workouts will always be changing. And then step 4 is when the coach will inform you of kind of what's happening in the workout. So they'll bring you down, they'll bring you over to the board like this, they'll break down the workout, they'll show you movement standards, positives and negatives, kind of like what we did on day 1. Then there'll always be like the demo, good and bad, and then we'll go ahead and break off into a workout, and then the cool down. Right now, you guys are lucky, great time to start. We are starting the cool down challenge. We like to have 30-day challenges, and right now we're really starting to talk about how to cool down. And if you look at our cool down, it almost overlays with our warm up. It's just a little bit different in the sense of what our priorities are. Okay, so statically stretching is key in the cool down. Right? rolling out, being a little bit more aggressive about what we were trying to do in the warm-up with the lengthening distraction, that is a great time to do it. Okay, at least for me, that's what I like our athletes to do, because then you're not going to put yourself in jeopardy. I sometimes feel like if you over distract or over mobilize and then you go try to lift heavy, it might be a little different. You might be in a new range of motion that your body's not accustomed to. Okay. That's a very basic way of our warm-up outline. Do you guys have any questions on that? Sweet, awesome. Again, it's just going to be like that when you guys come in. Let's go ahead, let's grab our stuff, and let's get working. Good work, guys. Okay.